Just go. Literally just go. I've been reflecting a lot about this over the past few days, over how much I want to experience, and all of my plans. I mean, I'm 21, but all of my plans for like the next 9 years of my life. And I'm the type of person that likes to plan everything. I'm the type of person that I will plan every single step ahead. I will plan what I will be doing next week right now. I will be planning what I will be doing over the next couple months. I will be planning what I will be doing for the next 5 years of my life to such detail that I don't have space for trying new things. And I've realized that I've been doing it wrong the entire time. The world is so big, and who is to say that the place that's meant for you is the place where you were born? Yes, culturally you're embodied to that place. Yes, culturally you feel a connection to that place because you grew up there, that's all you know. But you haven't been anywhere else, or you haven't tried living anywhere else. You don't know what will work and what will not. You don't know if maybe you feel more connected to a different religion, to a different culture, to a different way of life. You don't know that. You don't. I do think, and this is like a psychological thing, that we're more embodied and more attracted to things that resemble our growing up and our family and our culture. But at the end of the day, you don't know what will make you you. You don't know what you like, what you prefer. You don't know what's out there. I see so many people that when I told them that, I want to move to Australia, which is really funny because you see the cultural shifts of when I tell someone from Europe, I want to move to Australia, the first thing they say, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's wild. That's the other side of the world, but that's still so amazing. When I tell an American, it's coming from an American as well. I'm half European, half American. When I tell this to an American immediately says, ew, other side of the world, why would I ever do that? That's so far away from everything, which is another concept, another point that I want to get into later, but it's so far away from everything. Oh my God, spiders. A lot of the girls, I remember at a UN party telling people, I'm going to go to Australia one of these years. I want to live there for a year. The first thing that they said was like, I would never ever set foot in Australia. There's sharks, there's spiders, there's so many things, And I thought, what a close-minded world. So funny you say that. There's alligators in Florida. I've ran over alligators before. There's raccoons with diseases that bite you, and it's like the same thing as the monkeys in Bali. Like, there's so many things that I just think about. I'm like, you live in such a wild, wilderness place as well. There's also sharks in the waters in Miami. There's so much that can also get you where you are, and this automatic fear of something that you don't even know if it would even happen to you is dragging you back. It's crazy, and also the think of, it's so far from everything. No, it's so far from everything, it's not far from everything. There's someone that lives there and has lived there their entire life, and for them going to your place is far from everything. What is everything? What you're tying yourself into? Are you tying yourself to a culture? Are you tying yourself to a community? I also think this is another concept that I want to get into. What about moving to places because of friendships, not just relationships? I've thought about this a lot lately because I'm a person that grew up valuing a lot of friendships, and I value my relationship with my friends as much as I value my romantic relationships. And, they're very different in categories, but I would move to a city for my best friend as well as I would move to a different city for my boyfriend. For me, it's the same. If we move for romantic love, why don't we move for platonic love, If my best friend picks up and leaves and says, I want to go to Australia, and I also feel the urge to go to Australia, and I want to be where she is, because just as we have romantic love, we also have platonic love. I have friends that I feel such deep love for that I've never felt for anyone else, and I would pick up and move for them. I would because that's my community. And the fact that my community wants to move around and experience their world just like I want to, it's just even more perfect, So the idea of community, the idea of moving around, you can build a community wherever you go. If anything, I think moving around builds you a stronger community. And this is from the perspective of someone that has moved around a couple times in her life, and I'm just 21, and I can tell you that you really do know who is truly your community and who actually builds to your community if you move around. If you don't move around, you'll never find out who the community actually is. And not a lot of people realize this. A lot of people, for example, that I know that I'm originally from Miami. A lot of people that stayed in Miami to study Miami. A lot of people that have stayed within the same community have their entire life growing up in Miami. feel like, oh, I have this amazing community that I grew up with and I'm still growing up with. Half of those people are not your actual community. Half of those people, you have them there just for convenience, just for growing up. And this is a lot of things that I've mentioned this before in the podcast before, how a lot of people keep friendships just because of a timeline. That does not equal value. I don't know if that makes sense. A friendship that you've had for a really long time does not mean that it's valuable. Does it add value today? Does it still have the same value as it had X amount of years ago? Like you might have really aligned with this person 5 years ago. You might have had the same values, same lifestyles, same thoughts, same ideas, and you really got along with them. And I'm sure they're such a great friend. They're so loyal and they're just amazing. And they lift you up and they encourage you in the best possible way. But it's been 5 years now. Or it's been 10 years now. Do they add the same amount of value? Chances are you guys have grown apart, and that's okay. And that doesn't happen to every single friendship. I have friends from 10 years, but I've also have a lot of friends who have had to cut off, not because they're bad people, but because our paths went a different way, And that's okay, and that's fine. I think you need to realize that the beauty of getting to know yourself is that you also get to know who works for you and who doesn't. And I don't think you can find yourself if you're in the same spot your entire life. I'm not saying move away forever. I'm saying move around and then go back. I'm saying experience new things. I'm saying talk to new people. I'm saying learn from different things. Learn what you like, not what your parents told you like, not what your friends told you liked, not what your teachers told you liked, not what your professors, not what your, boss told you liked. Learn what you like. I've never been tied down. A really good example is in Spain, everyone is very Catholic, very religious, mostly Catholic. I grew up here in elementary school that was Catholic. I did my first communion. I did my baptism through my grandparents. My grandparents were very religious. I was very religious. I always carried around Rosemary. I prayed every night. I moved to Florida, and my parents were like, if you still want to go to church, we'll go with you. We don't believe in it, but we'll go with you. My dad multiple times told me he would go to church with me just because he knew that I was religious when we were back in the island. And, I didn't go to religious school anymore because I went to a public school system in the U.S. And to a certain extent, but this is also a debate, public schools in the U.S. are not religious, but then they make you say under God every single morning. But that's another debate for another time. So I lost that, push to go to the church every day by my school in Spain because I didn't have that in my school in the US. And I realized that I didn't really believe in it, and that's okay. It's something that I didn't really believe in. I was encouraged to have my own ideas, to do my own research, to read about different religions, to read about different things. Maybe sometimes I realized while being in Bali, maybe I'm more into Buddhism. I'm not fully Buddhist. I will never see myself a fully Buddhist, but I do think that there's certain things about the Buddhist religion that I think, oh, that's cool. And there's certain things about the Catholic religion that I think, oh, that's cool. But do I think fully Catholic is my thing? No, and that's okay. But that's because I realized over experiencing new things, over going to a place that wasn't radiated by just everyone believing in that, I think if you put yourself in a position where you're not forced to believe something, you get to have your own ideas about things. You make up your mind about things by yourself, and that's, I think, also a really big problem when it comes to politics. But we can get that into another point. A lot of people think certain ideas about politicians just because of what they hear from the community around them, not because of what they think. And social media has a big play in that, A lot of families are torn apart now because you have this access to other sources of media that people back in the day didn't have. And now people can have different ideas because they read different things. They read different newspapers. They follow different people that tell them different things. And, it's a going back and forth of who influences you in your day-to-day life. But how do you know every single option available if you're just sticking to one? And going back to the whole traveling thing, move around. What is the point of staying in your same hometown, same city your entire life if you are just going to live through others? And I'm not saying there's a shame of staying in the same city, there's a shame of staying in the same town. No, let me rephrase that. You can go and then come back. There's no problem with that. I actually think that's even more beautiful of you experienced everything and you still felt a sense of home in this place, and you brought all of these experiences and ideas, and now you're going to make it even better back at home through all those experiences and ideas that you've learned from other places. I think that's even more amazing. But I think a lot of people get it wrong of, one, you need to have a lot of money to move around. No, wait, if this is an American listening to this, I hope you know that it was way cheaper for me to go study abroad than for me to stay in the country. I got a 50K off out of 60K, so I got 90% off tuition in California. But flights to California from Florida are much more expensive than flights to London from Florida. Fun fact. Housing was more expensive in California than it was in London. Do you know that? Food. I had to pay for the meal plan at the university, and it was more expensive than the food that I was, like my expenses at the grocery store cooking for myself in London. It was more expensive to stay in the country than to leave the country. And I even got a new experience. The visa is another thing. Yeah, that was an extra expense, but all that expense, I was going to spend it on the meal plan anyways. There's so many things that people don't take into account because they automatically think that that's the way to go. Even then, you can go study in state, you can go study within the country, but then do exchange. But then after the exchange, maybe do something crazy and take a year and go travel that place or go travel somewhere else. How do you know what you like if all you've been told is to follow the community around you, to follow the system around you, to follow the beliefs of the people around you? I thought I've proven myself wrong many times. I thought I believed in some things, but then I moved out and I moved to a different place and I realized, maybe I didn't believe in that. Maybe that was just what I was told. Maybe that's the way that I was taught. Then maybe that's the way that I was talked to. And I want to make this really random quick video because I realized over the passing weeks, trying to plan out my next year, trying to plan out what I want to do, trying to plan out the place that I want to go to, I've realized that I don't want to follow about what my community says. I want to experience as many things as possible. So by the time that I reach, not a certain age, because I don't want to put a time limit to this, but by the time that I follow through my 20s, I can realize, one, what I like myself. Two, what have I liked, what have I not liked about every single place I've been to. Three, what do I want long term? Out of every single place that I've experienced, what have I liked, what have I not liked, and how do we find a place that has everything that I've liked out of everything? Maybe the solution is I want to live in different places throughout my entire life. And maybe that's my course, my life path that I have for myself that will make myself happy. Maybe for some people, it just takes living abroad X amount of years and then going back home. And, that's what makes them happy. And that's what they've come to a conclusion after experiencing many things. And that's as amazing as it gets. But you know that your geographical location, nowadays specifically, because we have so many modes of transportation, is not supposed to keep you caged. It's not supposed to be the limit of how far you go. We can debate on this because also it depends to the economical positions that you're in, but I just want to make a quick video because 2026 is coming. Probably by the time I post this is like the week before, like a few days before, even the week, like the day of before New Year's. But if there's one thing that I've taken from 2025, I've traveled so much. I've been so incredibly lucky. I've lived in 3 different cities, in 2 countries, and I've been able to experience my own culture after 10 years of not living in Spain. And I've traveled Southeast Asia for the first time, and I've gone to my boyfriend's country where I've never been to before in Eastern Europe. There's been so many things that have shaped me and my ideas throughout 2025, and I've realized now, planning 2026, that I want that to keep coming. The most I've learned was through that month that I spent in Asia, through those months of hard work where I was moving around and I was meeting new people and I was putting myself out there. That's when I learned the most, not only about myself, about how I deal with difficult situations and how I deal with moves and how I deal with meeting new people and how do I handle all this, but also about what I want and what I don't want. I realized that I really liked London, but the warm weather does call me. Maybe I want a place that has both, not just cold weather the entire year, not just warm weather the entire year. Maybe I want the option of moving around between two places at a time. Maybe I actually find really thrilling traveling all the time. Maybe that's what makes me really happy. Now, CO2 emissions, we can debate on that. I would feel really guilty if I did that all the time. But at the same time, maybe I do enjoy and I do feel a thrill out of traveling nonstop. Maybe I should look into something long term that makes me, and it makes it more flexible for me to be doing that because that makes me happy. I don't know. There's so many things that I've learned over the past couple of years that I would have never learned if I would have just stayed in one place the entire year. And I don't mean in traveling, like, I mean, if I hadn't moved, if I hadn't even thought of going new places, if I hadn't met people from other places, if I hadn't talked to new people, if I hadn't put myself in new situations. I think the best thing you can do for yourself every single year is putting yourself in X amount of uncomfortable situations. Not only uncomfortable situations, but new situations where you've never been before. Especially in your 20s. I think this is the perfect time for you to be putting yourself in situations that you've never been in before, and to meet people that you've never even talked to before, and to try new experiences that you will be out of your comfort zone. The more out of your comfort zone you are, the more you get to know yourself, and the more you get to know the world around you. I wanted to do a quick video for this week. I think I really like the conversational videos. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope it made sense and you got a message from this. I hope someone woke up listening to this, because I've realized a lot of people will wake up, and it's really rare to meet someone like me that wants to travel and do a lot of shit all the time, and that's okay. But let's please maximize our time in this world. I think that's what I feel all the time, this urge to maximize as much time as I can in this world, but at the same time I have to learn to slow down and appreciate this time in this world and everything that I've already done. Thank you. Peace out.